Jim, when you look at this whole situation, each team had 8 hits. Each team had a solo home run. And the series was won by Texas by just 1 run. And it just seemed like, it was a real good battle for 3 games.
Well, you're right. I mean, and they're also, well, now they're 22-10 at home. So, again, they play very well here. They score 6 runs a game. As we mentioned, even in game 1 where the Orioles hit 5 home runs, the pitching staff, which, again, relievers, starters, worst numbers in the American League of any of the other staffs, they pitched well till the 9th inning. But, again, you can't go 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position. You can't go 1 for 5 when you're not a great offensive team, when you don't get the clutch hit. So they've done a nice job over the last couple of weeks till really the last 2 games. And again, those are 2-1 loss, 4-3 loss. David Hess, he doesn't get a lot of runs. They've averaged about 3 runs a game, and that's what he got him today. But I thought he actually improved. We talked before the game, maybe if he throws that 3rd day before the 5th day of his start, maybe have a little bit of feel. Only made a couple of mistakes tonight, and they were pretty glaring when you don't get a lot of run support.
Jimmy, let's talk about this epidemic in Major League Baseball now. I got to go back to the days when I caught all you guys with Baltimore. The mechanics were pretty good. David Hess, he is the #1 guy. The front shoulder flies out. You can see the ball the whole way. He's got good stuff. And I know you'd say the same thing about him. But what is it that makes him fly open so much that he can't seem to correct it? Because he's given away good efforts. I know the guy's out there trying his heart out, but he's given away good efforts. And you explain it to me because I'm exhausted thinking about it.
Well, I don't want Demper, I want you to get some sleep tonight. So I don't want you to lose any sleep here. Here's the deal. I mean, I'm watching his windup. We saw him last year. In fact, he threw about 83 pitches in 3 1/3 innings. Buck Showalter made him watch every pitch because he was flying open. He's on the third base side of the rubber. He throws a little bit across his body, and I think what happens is that you feel like your front shoulder, instead of staying closed, it has to get open to get to the outside corner to a right-handed batter. It's probably a little bit easier for him to hit the outside corner tonight to the lefties, and we saw that. You take away a hanging slider to Pence for a home run, a hanging curveball or a curveball down and in to Guzman for a double, and maybe another slider to Andrus. He actually pitched pretty well. He commanded his fastball, kept him in the game. Again, he might have even pitched 7 innings if Guzman hadn't hit a jam shot into left field, and then they went to the bullpen, and Castro came in and really pitched well. So that was one of the positive things. So, a little mechanical adjustment. He's now lost, 8 in a row. They don't get him a lot of runs. He hasn't pitched well. When he does pitch well, or well enough, which is tonight, hey, you get him 6 runs tonight, he would have got a win. But they didn't get him 6 runs. You got him as many runs as Cashner's had, who never gets runs until this year. All of a sudden, his record wouldn't be as bad, maybe more positive. But I actually thought this was a step forward for him. And again, you start looking at the minor leagues. You got Akins pitching pretty well at AAA. But we saw the kid today, Gerardo. He came out of AA last year. You have you got Wells, who won the Jim Palmer Award a couple of years ago. He's pitched really well at Bowie. You also have a couple of other guys. Lothar has pitched really well. So you have a couple of options. The problem is they're not on the 40-man roster. So again, I think he's going to get more opportunities. Hopefully he'll take advantage of it. And again, this was really a game where the Orioles could have won if they couldn't have got a clutch hit 2 nights in a row. They just weren't able to do that.
Jim, let's talk about Trey Mancini for a moment. It hit another first-inning home run. I think it's like 6 home runs in the first inning so far this season of his home runs. The Orioles are giving a big push for him to try to make the All-Star team. What have you seen from Mancini all season long?
Well, I think he's in his 3rd year. We were talking, John Means and I were having a discussion, and Trey came walking by, and we were talking about not wearing your emotions on your sleeve. And John does about as good a job as any of our pitchers, especially for a young guy. And I said, Trey knows that. We always talk about it. We always talk about the fact that because he loves the ball out over the plate, and, he can drive the ball, and we saw it tonight, straightaway center, right center field, great hitter out over the plate. Rick Dempsey knows this as well as anything. So what do? You try to run the ball in on him. And as Don Long, his hitting coach, was saying the other night, Tom, he said, listen, if you don't swing at it, it's usually a ball. So he needs to do that. I think he's done a better job of it. He's the best offensive player. And at the end of the day, I just think if actually he could hit behind Chris Davis, and maybe Chris got a little bit hot, or Chris Davis got hot, he would probably even get better pitches to hit. So he's having a great year. He's made some adjustments from last year. Got hurt a little bit in May. So, it took him a long time to get kind of where he needs to be. But 24 home runs, he's on a pace probably to hit close to 30.
Well, Jim, as always, we appreciate your inside look at the Orioles. We'll be chatting with you real soon again. That's Baseball Hall of Famer Jim Palmer in Arlington, Texas, after the Orioles lost to the Rangers by a score of 4-3.